Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
And I am Pat.
And welcome to the month of December. And today we're going to talk about a possible career at an amusement park. Maybe you might consider becoming a designer for roller coasters.
That sounds a really fun idea. I remember when I was at school, all the students who were studying physics and math went to a big theme park just to basically measure things like the gravity that they were getting and the different forces in action. And it seemed to me like that's a really practical use for the theory they're doing in class. And I was very jealous because I couldn't go.
Really? Well, I guess there is a science to roller coasters and amusement parks and the rides and stuff that they have at those places. But maybe you've been on a roller coaster here in Taiwan. Have you ridden on a roller coaster here in Taiwan, Pat?
Nothing too big. I've not been down to, Ifa? Is it the big one down in Kaohsiung?
Ida, I think.
Ida, that's the one. So mostly little small ones that you sometimes find around department stores sometimes. Nothing too big. To be honest, after I'd done some bungee jumping and skydiving 10 years or so ago, a regular roller coaster doesn't quite have the same excitement levels.
I could imagine if you've jumped out of an airplane before, nothing can quite match that. But maybe some of us don't have the opportunity to jump out of an airplane, so we've got to settle for roller coasters. But if you'd like to take it one step further and design them, then there might be a possible career for you. So let's talk about what that is all about. Let's dive right in here and listen to our article read from top to bottom.
Nothing beats a roller coaster for thrills when you visit an amusement park. But how would you like to design roller coasters yourself? To become a roller coaster engineer, you must first earn a bachelor's degree in engineering. Whether you study electrical, structural, or mechanical engineering, you're off to a good start. Roller coaster engineers also need a professional engineering certification, which requires 4 years of relevant job experience and an exam. A master's degree isn't necessary, but will give you an advantage against others entering this highly competitive field. As a roller coaster engineer, you'll work on a team for each project. Your most important mission is to ensure ride safety. Your team will be responsible for the ride's structure, electronics, environment, and design. These include where to place tracks and supports and the development of the control systems. You'll also make the ride exciting by putting in loops, drops, twists, and turns. Roller coasters should also make the most of the natural scenery that riders will view on the ride. Roller coaster engineers split their time between the office, the laboratory, and the construction site. They should have a creative mind and be skilled in communication and problem solving, as well as math and physics. If this sounds like fun, you might be on the right track to a career in roller coaster engineering.
Okay, let's dive right in and explain our article for today. First of all, maybe we haven't really told you what a roller coaster is. It's probably the biggest attraction at an amusement park. You sit in a car and it goes up these tracks on a tower, I guess, and then it goes down and goes through loops and twists and turns and stuff like that. It can be quite exciting.
That's right. We did in one of the company's other magazines talk about their history as people riding down like ice ramps in Russia or something like that. But yeah, the idea is you're in a car. And modern ones, you might not even be sitting. You might be hanging with your kind of back and arms held in something and go upside down and fly around things really fast. You find these at Disneyland and all of those kinds of places. A lot of fun. Some are better for smaller people, smaller children, and then as you get older, you can go on the bigger, faster, and more exciting ones.
Exactly, and I've been on a couple roller coasters here in Taiwan, but small ones, like there are some small ones, I think, at Ocean Park in Hualien. And then, of course, I think they've also got a roller coaster at Liufucun. I can't remember the English name of that amusement park, but it's an amusement park out near Longtan. You probably all know about it. But yes, indeed, it's one thing to ride on a roller coaster. It's another thing to actually design them. And I guess there are career opportunities in this field if you're interested in that. So here's the first paragraph. It says, nothing beats a roller coaster for thrills when you visit an amusement park. Now, in this sentence, we've got the word thrill, and that's just something that is very exciting. It thrills you like it's a thrill to ride on a roller coaster.
Yep, or go on a very fast motorbike or do some of those things that I mentioned in the introduction, bungee jumping. So that's a thrill, and you get these when you go to an amusement park. Amusement parks, we've mentioned a couple, Ida and Liufucun, and of course the Disney parks, Disney World, Disneyland. I've been to the Disney Sea up in Tokyo a couple of years ago. Really great trip, couple of roller coasters. But the idea is it's a great big park with all kinds of things to have fun with, to see. You can eat there. You can go on kind of slow rides where you look around, fast rides that make you feel a bit excited and scared. There'll be games you can play, maybe little movies you can watch. It's just full of fun for people of all ages.
Right, an amusement park, and yes, you mentioned some examples there, Disneyland, Disney World. I think the first roller coaster I ever rode on was at an amusement park outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was called Valley Fair, I believe. They had a roller coaster there. That's an amusement park. And here's a question we have, but how would you like to design roller coasters yourself? Again, we did mention before that there are career opportunities in this field. Yes, indeed, someone has to design and build those roller coasters.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun, but the article's going to move on to how you get started and the educational background you're going to need. It starts off by saying, to become a roller coaster engineer, you must first earn a bachelor's degree in engineering. So a bachelor's degree is also known as an undergraduate degree. It's the first degree you get when you go to college. You have to get it before you can move on and study anything else in more detail. I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry. That's what I got qualified in to start off with, studying a few different aspects of that. Here, we'll need one in engineering.
Right, and that, of course, is the field of science and technology that is concerned with designing and building things like engines, machines, roller coasters, etc., bridges, buildings, etc. So that's what engineering is. We've got chemical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, all sorts of different branches of engineering. So yes, indeed, you do need to have a BA in engineering, or I should say probably a BS, actually.
BSc, yeah, in England we would say.
Okay, very good. And whether you study electrical, structural, or mechanical engineering, you're off to a good start. So these are branches of engineering that you could study: electrical engineering, or structural engineering, or mechanical engineering. So those are all branches of engineering that have to do with constructing things.
Right. Electrical engineering would be the systems that kind of go under it. Structural would be the actual structures, and the mechanical is all about machines. Whichever way, you're off to a good start. If somebody is off to a good start, they've, as it says, made a very good start. They're up and running, they're up and rolling, and they've already made some progress on this journey that they've set themselves on. We also go on then after what you do after getting a bachelor's degree. Roller coaster engineers also need a professional engineering certification, which requires 4 years of relevant job experience and an exam. So a certification is going to be from an official body. Someone will give you a proper kind of course of qualification that's been decided on by this official body. Then you will do some job experience, you'll take an exam, you'll learn everything that the government and this body has agreed you need to know, and then you'll get a certificate at the end of it, which is where we get the word certification.
Right, certification or a certificate. It's a kind of license. And that license, which requires 4 years of relevant job experience and an exam. So you'll have to take an examination, and then you'll have to have 4 years of relevant job experience. You could have job experience, maybe working as a waiter or something, but that's not relevant to this field. It's not related to it. So yes, indeed, you need to have some job experience that is related to this, building similar structures or even building roller coasters at maybe smaller amusement parks or something like that.
Yeah, maybe working on like the kind of electrical engineering you'd need for a night market game show or something like that. So a master's degree isn't necessary. So you don't need to go and get another degree, but so a master's degree will give you an advantage against others entering this highly competitive field. If something is competitive in this case, it means a lot of people want to be a part of it, a lot of people are interested in it. There are many more people than there are jobs, so to get those jobs, you really have to be very good.
Right, so a lot of fields are very competitive. They have a lot of competition, and so sometimes we choose careers based on how competitive they are. Like if you want to be an artist, well, there aren't a lot of openings in that field, so it can be quite competitive. If you're very good, you still might find difficulty finding an actual job because it is quite competitive. And yes, indeed, you might be surprised that roller coaster engineers or finding a job as a roller coaster engineer is very competitive. So you need to keep that in consideration when you consider this career. Okay, that brings us to the midway point in our lesson for today. It's time now to listen to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天带大家看一个梦幻职业哦，就是云霄飞车工程师 Roller Coaster Engineer。在第3句当中，其实已经特别的告诉我们，如果我们的目的是要成为一个云霄飞车工程师的话，当然一定要先有一个工程师的学位。不过在第一题啊，它其实考你是一个在高中英文很常见的、很常考的，到底 A、B、C、D 的4个选项怎么样才能填进去呢？当然这一题的正解是 C to become。后面加一个逗点，那其实我们在句首看到 to do something 的时候，直觉上在国中的英文会告诉我们，它是一个这个当名词的动作，也就是说，如果我今天要讲的是 to become a roller coaster engineer is very difficult， 它变成是一个句子，那么 to do something 就是一个句子的名词，可是 to do something 其实它也是in order to do something 的一种短写、缩写。那么也就是说，如果我们今天句子开头是 to do something， 逗点才开始有主词动词的话，它表达的是一个目的。那么如果你要选 A 的话， by doing something 它是一种副词的概念，也就是借由某一件事情才能完成另外一件事情。那么 B 这个 becoming 就是刚才我们举例子的，它跟我们所谓的 to do something 有同样的功能，也可以当成句子的主词。而这个 D 呢 having become 它其实已经是一个分词构句的句型了。所以我举个例子，假设我说，因为我已经成为了一个云霄飞车工程师，所以我就在大公司找到工作咯。那这个句子可以变成 having become a roller coaster engineer 逗点 I got a job in a big company。 好，所以这一题呢，因为根据上下文我们要表达一个目的，为了做某事，所以选 C to do something打逗点，然后才出现了主词动词。你首先要取得一个工程师的学位哦。那么这个工程学士的学位啊，不管你是专攻电机结构或机械工程，都是很 OK 的。可是要记得，云霄飞车的工程师呢，另外还有一个专业的工程的这个工程学的证书。工程学的证书就需要有4年的相关经验，还有1次的考试哦。那么当然你说要不要取得硕士学位啊？那就不需要。可是如果你想要进入这样子的一个行列，它的竞争是相当激烈的，所以如果你有硕士学位的话呢，相较之下是比较有优势。所以在第2题我们的介系词要选 D， 这个 against 就有对抗啊、比较的意思，因为第2格后面的受词是 others 其他人，所以相较于其他人，如果你拥有硕士学历的话，是比较有竞争力哦。
We're going to take a short break now, but please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi everyone, welcome back. We're talking about the career of a roller coaster engineer here. We've just finished talking about the kind of qualifications and experience a person might need to get a job in this competitive field, but what do they do? What do engineers do once they've got their jobs? The next paragraph begins, as a roller coaster engineer, you'll work on a team for each project. So, yeah, this isn't something you'd go and do by yourself. You could lead a team, but there's always going to be a team.
Exactly. So, yes, it's a team project, and you're going to work on the project with your team. And your most important mission is to ensure or to guarantee ride safety. That is important because if people get injured, they could get killed, and you don't want that to happen. So you have to make sure that these roller coasters are safe and sound for everybody, and you got to make sure people don't get hurt. You need to ensure ride safety, and your team will be responsible for the ride's structure, electronics, environment, and design. So these are all things that you need to consider when you build a roller coaster. The structure, the actual construction itself, the actual, I guess, the towers, the beams,
track,
the supports, the track, all that kind of stuff. And, of course, we've got the electronics. Of course, it uses electricity. That's the power. And then you've got the chips and the circuits and stuff. That's the electronics. And the environment, where it is. Is it in a place that's very hot or cold? Those things might affect the actual roller coaster. And the design itself. It's got to be unique and it's got to attract people to it.
Exactly. And the next sentence goes into a bit more detail on some of this. So these, meaning all of these kind of aspects and elements, these include where to place tracks and supports and the development of the control systems. So that's the structure. Where's the track going to be? Is it going to be able to take the weight of the roller coaster going through it? Is there going to be enough kind of up that gives you then the power and momentum to go down very fast and go around a loop safely? Those kinds of things. And of course, the development of the control systems. Is it going to start and stop smoothly? Can you make sure it goes to the right places in the right time? Is there kind of backup power in case one set of power fails? Those are the electronics part of the design. And then we go on to talk about the environment and the design of it.
Indeed, and of course you want to make it exciting for people, and so you will also make the ride exciting by putting in loops, drops, twists, and turns. So these are different aspects of a roller coaster. The loops, where the thing actually goes up and you are upside down and then you come around again like a big circle. And then drops is when the car will suddenly go downward and you'll get all excited and the girls will scream. And twists and things like that, where it kind of goes back and forth, or maybe goes through the air like a corkscrew or something like that. And, of course, the turns. When they turn, of course, that can be equally exciting.
Yeah, and it's not just the girls who scream. I do give a good scream on these roller coasters.
The guys will too, yeah.
Yeah, it does add to the fun. So this is what makes it a really exciting ride, the ones that people go, oh yeah, I really want to go on that. But that's not the only part of it. Roller coasters should also make the most of the natural scenery that riders will view on the ride. So a lot of these will go quite high in the air and maybe hold you up in the air for a couple of seconds before the big first drop. And in that case, you want to look around. What can we see? Well, we want to see the rest of the park. So let's make sure that when they go up, they're facing the park, not facing like the car park, the parking lot out the back. They want to see things that will make them stay in the amusement park, spend more money, and all the rest. So there's a lot of different things you have to consider when you're putting the final design together. Not just making it, well, let's have more loops than anyone else. You've got to think of all these different aspects.
And making sure that it is, energy efficient and things like that. And, of course, you need to make sure that people are safe when they ride it. Now, let's take a look at the final paragraph for today. It says, roller coaster engineers split their time between the office, the laboratory, and the construction site. I should mention the word laboratory here. That's the American pronunciation. And Pat, I believe as an Englishman, you say laboratory.
That's right, laboratory, or just lab. I think most people will say lab for short in both countries. But let's look at the word split first. To split pretty much means the same as share. You're taking one whole unit and you're breaking it down into smaller units, smaller components. So if you've got to be in 3 places for your job, you split your time. You might say, I split my time between the office and home. Right now, I'm working from home half the time, so I split my working days between the office and my apartment. So this is what they're doing. They don't just stay in the office and design things. They don't just go to the construction site to build. They have to go to several different places as a part of their job.
It's interesting the word split here can also be a noun, but it refers to something called a banana split, which is a kind of ice cream treat where you take a banana, you cut it in half, and then you put ice cream and whipped cream on it and maybe some other things. I'm not sure if they're popular here in Taiwan or at least in England, but I know in the US they're quite popular, so people have banana splits all the time. But there the word split is being used as a noun. Here we're using it as a verb. Again, you divide your time between different places. You're going to be in the office sometimes. You're going to be in the laboratory at other times. And you also need to go to the construction site. So the laboratory, of course, is where scientists work, basically. The people in there are going to be wearing white robes, and they're going to be experimenting with, I don't know, maybe fuels and materials and stuff that they're going to use when they build the roller coaster.
Yeah, I imagine they'll also be building little models to kind of check different things. They'll use kind of small things and small systems and go, let's see how this works. Is it going to go all the way around the track on one set of power? So it's a place where you do tests, you do experiments, you try things out on a small scale and where nobody gets hurt. And once you've done that and got your design, you go to the construction site. Construction as a noun just means basically building, making things, putting up large buildings, bridges, all other kinds of things like that. When we put it together with construction site, this collocation means the place where construction is done. You could also say building site. And I'm sure you've seen all of these around in your daily life when people are building a new department store, building a new train station, new MRT stations, or just apartment blocks. They start off as kind of big empty areas with a hole in the ground, and slowly they get built up and the walls and the roof go in, and then designers come in to do the inside and so on. That is a construction site.
Right, and construction as a noun refers generally to the process of building something. It does also refer to the building itself once it's complete, but we don't really use it that much in that sense. Construction usually refers to the actual process of building something.
Okay, so we're now going on to talk a bit more about what's required of engineers. They, the engineers, should have a creative mind and be skilled in communication and problem solving as well as math and physics. So the math and physics gives them the kind of scientific knowledge they need to do the engineering and building, but the creative mind is what's going to make this roller coaster really interesting. But all of that, in addition, you need communication and problem-solving skills. You need to get your idea to the park's designers, to your team. If any problems come up, you need to know how to solve them and work together. So, yeah, it's not just about being really good at math and science. You've got to have all kinds of different abilities to make it in this career.
Right. You need to have good communication skills because, as we said, you're going to be working in a team. It's a team effort. And also, you need to have some problem-solving skills because these things will come up. Maybe some of the materials just aren't working. The concrete is just not getting hard enough. The ground is soft. Maybe it has shifted during construction. So these, of course, are problems that you need to solve as construction continues. So again, you need to have those problem-solving skills, and you need to know your mathematics and your physics. And if this sounds like fun, you might be on the right track to a career in roller coaster engineering. Right track there. If you're on the right track, of course, that means you're doing something correctly.
And of course, it is a reference to the tracks that the roller coasters run on. Well, that's all we've got for this unit. We've finished reading through it, but we're not quite done yet, as we're now going to hand you back to our Chinese teacher.
那么要作为一个云霄飞车的工程师啊，每一项计划其实都会跟团队的合作。总而言之，整个 team 呢就要负责云霄飞车结构啊、电子啊、设备啊、环境啊、设计啊等等。那我刚刚讲的东西，其中就包括像轨道支架的设计位置，还有控制系统整个的开发。所以我们看到第2段第4句的地方，像这里的第3格，看起来呢，其实就是在考你一个词汇的意义跟上下文的理解。所以 be place 除了地方的意思之外呢，还有动词放置。那么当然第4句我们回过头来看到动词之后的包含什么内容物呢？我们可以从 where 到逗点可以用个中括号，它是一种名词的概念。 Where to do something, where to place tracks and supports， 到底要在哪里放置一些轨道还有支架呢？好，那么当然除此之外，还可以透过云霄飞车加入一些特别的环状啊、骤降啊、扭转啊、回转啊这些轨道，让整个云霄飞车是非常刺激的。除此之外，乘客搭乘看到的自然景色，你也要考虑进去哦。那么这句话就出现在第2段的第6句的地方，同样第4题也是考一个词汇的概念，不过句子整个的意思是你必须要把所有自然景观好好的做一个利用。那么在这句话，因为最后有一个限定用法的关系子句，所以我们先把它抓出来。先行词其实是前面的 the natural scenery， 那么关系子句从第4格 that 一直到句尾的地方，所以工程师也要善加利用乘客会看到的自然景色，所以第4题答案也选 D。那么当然，云霄飞车工程师不是坐在那里画画图就好咯，整个的时间可能会在办公室啊、实验室，甚至是工地之间，所以工程师要有创造性的思维，还要有很多其他的专长，比如说要擅长沟通、解决问题，善于数学、物理等等。所以在第3段的地方，我们看到第2句，它同样也是第5题，因为第5题的前后，其实我们可以把东西抓出来。前面要连接的是 communication and problem solving， 那么第5格后面要连接的是 math and physics， 那么前后其实都已经有 and， 所以第5格我们再给它一个连接概念的就是 A as well as。 那么如果你真的想要当云霄飞车工程师的话，记得要好好努力，好好认真，然后在这个相关的激烈竞争的领域当中要有更多的优势哦。以上是我今天的内容，我是安娜，我们下次见。
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Hopefully you've learned more about roller coasters and possibly pursuing a career as a roller coaster engineer. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
And I'm Pat.
Goodbye.
Bye.